The neon sign of the Rusty Spoon Diner flickered against the snowy Utah night, casting a pinkish glow over the parking lot filled with Harleys and a couple of beat-up pickups. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee, bacon grease, and the faint metallic tang of fear. Jenny Harper sat trapped between two men she barely knew, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack a rib. The one on her left, Rico, with the slicked back hair and a grin that never reached his eyes, kept his hand clamped around her wrist like a handcuff. On her right, Tommy, broad-shouldered and smelling of whiskey, laughed too loud at something on his phone, oblivious to the way Jenny's fingers trembled around her coffee mug. Across the booth, Big Mike loomed like a storm cloud in human form. His leather jacket creaked as he leaned forward, meaty fists planted on the Formica table. The spilled coffee had soaked into Jenny's jeans, cold and sticky, but she barely noticed. Mike's eyes, dark, unreadable, were fixed on her chest where her blouse had torn open in the scuffle moments ago. 2 buttons gone. Her skin prickled under his gaze. You think you can just walk away, Jen? Mike's voice was low, dangerous. After everything. She swallowed hard. I told you, Mike. It's over. I'm done. Rico chuckled, squeezing her wrist tighter. Hear that, boss? She's done. Tommy finally looked up, his smile fading. Hey, ease up, man. She's scared. Scared. Mike's laugh was a bark. She should be. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. Snow had started to fall in thick, wet flakes, sticking to the glass. The diner was nearly empty, just the cook in the back, a waitress named Darla who kept shooting nervous glances their way, and an old man in a corner booth nursing a cup of decaf. Jenny's eyes darted to the exit. The red exit sign glowed like a promise, but 2 of Mike's guys blocked the door. One of them, Goat, with the long white beard and a face like weathered oak, leaned against the frame, arms crossed, watching. Jenny's mind raced. How did I get here? 3 months ago, she'd been a waitress in this same diner, pouring coffee for truckers and dreaming of art school in Salt Lake. Then Mike rolled in with his crew, all leather and chrome and danger. He'd been charming at first, funny, protective. Bought her flowers. Took her on rides through the canyons. But the charm had curdled fast. The bruises came next. The threats. The way he'd grab her arm in front of his friends and say, "You're mine now." She'd tried to leave twice. The first time, he'd found her at her sister's place in Provo. The second time, he'd dragged her back by her hair. This time, she'd planned better. A duffel bag hidden in the laundry room. A bus ticket to Denver. A friend who'd promised to pick her up at the station. But Mike had eyes everywhere. He'd shown up at the diner just as her shift ended, his crew fanning out like wolves. Now, here she was. Trapped. Mike reached across the table, his fingers brushing the torn fabric of her blouse. You look good like this, Jen. All messed up. Real. Her stomach lurched. Don't touch me. He ignored her, his hand sliding lower. Rico's grip tightened until she whimpered. Tommy shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. That's when the bell above the door jingled. Everyone turned. A man stepped inside, shaking snow from his boots. Tall, lean, with a face half hidden by a week's worth of stubble and a black knit cap pulled low. His leather jacket was older than Mike's, worn, patched in places, but it fit him like it was part of his skin. He moved with a quiet kind of purpose, like a man who'd walked into 100 rooms like this and knew exactly where the exits were. Goat straightened. We're closed, buddy. The man didn't stop. His eyes, gray, sharp, swept the room, lingering on Jenny for a beat longer than the rest. Then he walked straight to the counter, pulled out a stool, and sat. Darla approached, wringing her hands. Coffee. Black, he said. His voice was calm, gravel rough. And a slice of whatever pie's left. Mike's lip curled. You deaf, old man. I said we're closed. The stranger didn't look up. Sign says open till midnight. It's 11:47. Rico snorted. You hear this guy? Jenny's pulse quickened. Something about the stranger's stillness, the way he held himself, it reminded her of a wolf pretending to be a dog. She didn't know him, but she knew men like Mike. And this man wasn't one of them. Mike stood, chair scraping back. You got a death wish, pal. The stranger finally looked up. His gaze locked on Mike, unblinking. Just want my pie. Tommy laughed nervously. Come on, Mike. Let the guy eat. But Mike was already moving, rounding the table with the slow, deliberate steps of a man who enjoyed fear. He stopped beside the stranger's stool, towering over him. Stand up, Mike said. The stranger sipped his coffee. Make me. The diner went dead silent. Mike's hand shot out, grabbing the stranger's jacket. In one fluid motion, the man twisted, using Mike's momentum to slam him face first into the counter. The coffee mug shattered. Mike roared, swinging wild. The stranger ducked, drove an elbow into Mike's gut, then a knee to his face. Blood sprayed across the pie case. Chaos erupted. Rico let go of Jenny to lunge at the stranger. Tommy hesitated, then followed. Jenny scrambled backward, knocking over the booth's ketchup bottle. Goat and the other guy by the door charged in. But the stranger moved like he'd been born in a fight. He caught Rico's arm, twisted it behind his back, and used him as a shield when Tommy swung a fist. Tommy's knuckles cracked against Rico's jaw. Goat grabbed a chair, swinging it like a club. The stranger dropped low, swept Goat's legs, and the old man crashed into a table, sending plates flying. Jenny's breath came in gasps. She crawled under the booth, heart pounding, as boots thundered around her. A gunshot cracked. Someone had fired into the ceiling. Plaster rained down. Enough! The stranger shouted, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. He had Mike in a chokehold now, one arm twisted behind his back, the other pinned by the stranger's knee. A snub-nosed revolver, Mike's, lay on the floor, kicked out of reach. Rico groaned on the ground. Tommy clutched a bloody nose. Goat was out cold. The stranger's eyes found Jenny's under the table. You okay? She nodded, trembling. He looked at Darla, who stood frozen behind the counter. Call the sheriff. Darla fumbled for the phone. Mike spat blood. You're dead, man. You hear me? Dead. The stranger tightened his grip. Shut up. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Snow swirled through the open door. Jenny crawled out, legs shaking. The stranger released Mike, who slumped to the floor, gasping. Who are you? She whispered. He didn't answer right away. Just looked at her with those gray eyes, like he was seeing something he hadn't expected. Name's Cole, he said finally. Just passing through. The sheriff's deputies burst in minutes later, guns drawn. They took one look at the scene, Mike's crew battered and bleeding, Jenny shaking in a torn blouse, and started cuffing people. Mike screamed threats as they dragged him out. Rico whimpered. Tommy went quietly. Jenny gave her statement in the back of a cruiser, wrapped in a blanket. Cole stood nearby, talking to a deputy, his voice low. When she finished, he approached. You got somewhere to go? He asked. She hesitated. Denver. Eventually. He nodded. Bus stations closed till morning. Storm's bad. I'll figure it out. He studied her for a long moment. There's a motel off 89. Clean. Safe. I'll take you. She should have said no. Should have waited for the women's shelter or her friend in Denver. But something in his eyes, steady, unafraid, made her nod. They rode in silence, his old Harley rumbling through the snow. The motel was a squat, faded building with a flickering vacancy sign. He paid for 2 rooms, side by side. Inside hers, Jenny sat on the bed, staring at her hands. A knock. She opened the door to find Cole holding a paper bag. Burgers, he said. Figured you hadn't eaten. She took the bag, suddenly ravenous. They ate in silence, the only sound the hum of the heater and the wind outside. Why'd you help me? She asked finally. He shrugged. Didn't like the odds. That's it. He looked at her then, really looked. My sister. Few years back. Guy like that. Didn't end well. Jenny's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just. Don't go back. I won't. Morning came gray and cold. The storm had passed, leaving the world clean and white. Cole was outside, scraping ice from his bike. Jenny stepped out, duffel bag slung over her shoulder. Denver? He asked. Yeah. He handed her a helmet. I'm headed that way. If you want. She smiled for the first time in weeks. I want. They rode east, the Rockies rising behind them like a wall she'd never cross again. The wind whipped her hair, cold and sharp and alive. For the first time in months, Jenny Harper felt the future opening up in front of her, wide, unknown, and hers. Behind them, the Rusty Spoon diner smoldered in the rearview, a chapter closed in smoke and snow.